You know, despite the hate train for this game, I think a lot of people are going to find my take on this game very interesting, very surprising at times. But yeah, what is going on, guys? It is Echo Killshot, and welcome back to a brand new review. Today, I am here to review, yeah, that's right, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, the looter shooter live service train wreck that a lot of people do not like, whether it be the gameplay, whether it be the story, whether it be just the live service and looter shooter aspect. I'm gonna go over all that today, so if you guys could please leave a like down below and subscribe, it would really help your boy out a ton. And I'm gonna give my 2 cents like I always do. And yeah, so going into this game, I will say I was I was always excited for it, right? Ever since the DC fandom trailer came out for it, I was always interested. I think it was a very interesting concept. I know a lot of people would have been like, "Oh, just give us a Justice League game." Well, one, that would be crazy difficult, and two, I don't think there is a more interesting premise than to kill the Justice League, right? And obviously, this is not something that you know, is unique to this game. Uh, well, I guess it is, but I mean, I'm talking about like in previous source material, like the Justice League has been killed off before, whether it be by Darkseid or whomever. Um, so I think the premise and story alone, going into this game, I think is really cool. I think it has a really dope opening with all the squad members interacting with each other. And I really tried to go into this with a positive mindset. And I think I came out, fairly positive. Um, so we're gonna go over the story, we're gonna go over the gameplay, we're gonna go over the future of this game, because after all, it is a live service, so you are going to be expecting more content, free content, right? And I know it has, you know, cosmetics that you can buy and stuff, but there is still, a good majority of cosmetics that you can still unlock for absolutely free. So with this one purchase of 70 bucks, right? Triple A game title price. Um, even though it may not seem like a lot now, you still got to go into the mindset that this is a live service game, so they are not just going to stop you right there. They're going to give you more content, next month, right? We're getting pretty close to the Joker becoming a playable character, which I'm really excited for that, man. I'm excited to visit the Joker Funland. I'm excited to see all that cool content, the new episodes with like Two-Face and Scarecrow coming out. I'm excited for all that, man. Um, but yeah, as far as the story goes, I will say the pacing is, you know, pretty good through its first act. I mean, you are just kind of going through doing things for Amanda Waller or Rick Flag. You're unlocking new squad members, recruits like Penguin, Poison Ivy, Gizmo, Lex Luthor, all those guys. And that's really cool because I like the diversity in that uh kind of grouping. But then you also have you know XYZ mission that you will continuously do over and over again. And in this game's defense, it is a looter shooter, so their main, I guess, primary like objective is to not make the missions vary other than the boss fights, which in a way I feel like the boss fights all kind of feel the same. I mean, you're either trying to get really close or you're trying to get very far. Cinematically, they're all very different and beautiful, right? I mean, the Flash boss fight, he's zipping around at like a water park area, and you got to unlock these different gadgets and tools to stop him. Like is it like a flash ring? It's like a bracelet that Captain Boomerang uses. Which, by the way, the performances in this game, as far as the squad goes, incredible, man. Incredible. All of them, I know Samoa Joe's in there. I know Tara Strong is back, which, oh my gosh, she can have it any day. But uh then you also get Captain Boomerang. I don't know who the voice actor is for Captain Boomerang, but I think he was an absolute like scene stealer, man. I think that was pretty good. And then the Deadshot voice actor was also pretty good. I think overall the voice acting is nothing short of just excellent. It's just really excellent. It's really good. Um, but yeah, going back to the boss fights and stuff. You got the Flash boss fight. You're killing the Justice League pretty much. So you got your Flash boss fight. You'll do X and Y and Z mission to progress the story, right? Because you don't want plot holes or stuff like that. Which I'm not gonna say this game doesn't have any plot holes, right? But you gotta wait for more of the content to come out for it to fill and stuff. Which I feel like people going in wanting a complete story from A to Z in this $70 you know thing, which I mean you are still getting, but you gotta wait for that content to come out. There is still story being added on for free, by the way. Um, but I think what people don't like the most is, well, obviously that Batman death, which we'll get to that. Um, but I really did enjoy like all the boss fights. I did think that they were all uh really cool. The Green Lantern boss fight, and then that part where King Shark uses the ring, and then and that was so sick. But I really did enjoy the boss fights. I enjoyed the banter between uh the Justice League and the Squad. Um, and then you had that Batman horror mission, which was pretty good, and also a lot of lore to be added. Don't stress it enough that Rocksteady makes sure their games are heavily detailed, whether it be in their open world or just these small indoor environments, right? I mean, you pretty much get a whole recap of the Arkham series when you're doing the Batman experience, which is really cool, and they tell it in like you're in a museum kind of way. It's really cool. That whole mission itself which was really interesting and really cool. Um, but there's a lot of details in the uh in the open world, right? You'll go find these little things, whether it be from the riddles or just while you're traversing. And might I say, the traversing is incredible. I'd honestly go as far to say, maybe except for Harley's, everybody's traversal is honestly probably better than Batman's traversal from the Arkham games. They just feel all so diverse, but all feel kind of the same at the same time. Uh, because obviously you don't want one being more powerful than the other and stuff like that. You want to keep it balanced. But I found the traversal, especially King Shark, man, that's pretty much like a Hulk game at that point. But their special attacks are pretty cool. Their finishers, um, the enemy types and all that stuff. I found to be, you know, for what it is, I found it to be pretty cool. You had the fast Brainiac guys. You had the tanks. You had and a couple of other more that I'm blanking out on. But you have to use certain attacks and stuff like that to help a certain squad member like Poison Ivy. Like you got to protect her plants and stuff like that. And I know it's repetitive and the same like that, but guys, this is a looter shooter. You got to go into this thinking that their main primary objective is to not make every mission vast and different aside from the boss fights. All right, if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. If you don't, you don't. If it's your thing, then it's your thing. If it's not, I guess don't go buy another looter shooter, all right? But that's not the game's fault. Um, you should know what you're kind of getting yourself into. I enjoyed it. I found the combat to be fun at all times. Some people found it boring after 2 hours. Some people just found it like not that fun at all. Me personally, I think when you're combining traversal with the gameplay, with like shooting as Deadshot and using his jetpack to like knock over enemies and stuff, I think that is really cool. And then obviously comboing that with like your finishers or your special attacks, it really does make for a satisfying experience. Uh, Even if you're still doing the same thing over and over again. Uh, you know, but that's just me. But yeah, I think the traversal is really good. I think the combat is, excellent for what it is. Um, I've always wanted to get my hands on the gameplay ever since I saw the first gameplay trailer, and I'm happy I waited, man. I mean, like that gameplay is so fun. But then going back to the story for a little bit, I know it's not the most cohesive and compelling story in the world because you are playing as the bad guys, but you got to remember these guys have, little to no morals, right? I mean, they're villains, right? Maybe even anti-heroes. They become anti-heroes more in the end. But I do think it has a lot of great story moments. I mean, you have Wonder Woman thrown in there, which she's the only one that's not like corrupted. So you kind of have her as kind of the backbone of like the powerhouse. And there is a really compelling moment with her, which I will say they should have given that compelling moment to Arkham Batman instead of her, just because we haven't really seen her this version of Wonder Woman in the Arkham games, so there is really little to no emotional attachment. But there's a little emotional attachment when you obviously build off of it when you continue through the story. Obviously she starts off like despising the squad and stuff, but when she's taking her last moments of breath being defeated by Superman, which that whole cinematic was crazy, dude. That's probably like a top 5 scene in the game. But yeah, when she finally comes to realize that the squad is their, last hope, right? She kind of has to put this faith in them and be like, "Hey, don't let me down." I thought that was a really good moment for her character in the game to kind of send her off. I kind of wish they gave that same treatment to Batman. You know, but I'm not like going on Twitter like, "Oh my God, it was the worst thing ever." Like I'm trying to think like I'm the bad guy. Like I wouldn't want to give Batman, if I was a bad guy, a villain, a monumental death, right? I mean, you could just say that it's lazy writing or something at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, it's all subjective, right? I mean, think what you want about how they ended off Arkham Batman, which, by the way, for Batman's boss fight, I actually had some trouble with it. That was actually the hardest boss fight for me in the entire game, and it wasn't even like it was a very different boss fight. It reminded me a lot of uh the Scarecrow sections of Arkham Asylum that you would play, where it's just this big shadowy figure, and then you're trying to like dodge his attacks or like hide from him or stuff like that. It was pretty repetitive though, but it wasn't like boring because it always kept you on your feet. Uh, but he kind of does throw the same 3 attacks, so if you're not a big fan of that, I don't think you'll like that boss fight a whole lot. But I really did enjoy you know, the other boss fights like Superman's boss fight, which I thought should have lasted a little bit longer only because he is Superman. And his death kind of felt like a So I'm not gonna say the boss fights or all that stuff were anything like amazing or top tier, but I will say the banter and just the constant keeping up on your feet and stuff like that, uh, kind of just pressing buttons at all time, but strategically at all times. Um, I definitely think makes for a pretty enjoyable experience. And then you had the Brainiac boss fight, which I I was a little disappointed by that too. At the end of the game, you still got to tackle like 11 more Brainiacs, so there definitely is a chance for them to redeem that. But as this being like the main villain of the game, I feel like they could have gone a little more better about it in terms of how diverse he is from the rest of the Justice League. Because you have the Justice League, right? But then you have Brainiac, the one that actually took control of them. So you'd expect him to be more difficult, but he really wasn't. It was just like you know, do damage to him for a bit, fight a wave of enemies. Don't get me wrong, it was cool to look at, right? Seeing like a whole bunch of colors and crap, but and always being up on your feet. But I mean, you also like he only takes the form of the Flash. I kind of wish he took form of like every other Justice League member and used that to his advantage. That would have made for some very, kind of to be like, hey, what have you learned from defeating the rest of the Justice League and stuff like that. I'm gonna use all those powers against you and see if you're really skilled at the game. I wish that kind of I wish they kind of went different about that. But other than that, the story and stuff, I'd probably give the story like 6 or 7 out of 10. Just the story though. The gameplay I'd give like an 8 or a 9. I think the gameplay is very fun. Um, very fun. And obviously now you got, post-launch stuff. Which, I'll make an updated video probably talking about that, but I definitely think a lot of the bad and the shaming on this game, comes from the fact that, hey, I paid $70 for this shit show that, I mean, I only get like a 8 hour or something campaign or something like that. Like, really? Which I don't think it's an 8 or 9 hour campaign. It took me like 20 something hours to complete just the campaign, and then I had to go do all the Riddler stuff, which the Riddler stuff to do was actually pretty fun. I mean, I had to look up guides and stuff, but there was a lot of cool, like, lore stuff to it, and it was, honestly, a big relief after the 400 something Riddler trophies in the Arkham games. Uh, but I like that they kind of like toned it down for this game. They didn't really make that the huge focus, but I like that they still implemented that. There is a lot of similar stuff you could see in the Arkham games that are present in this game, which I think is really nice because they don't want to take away fully from the fact that this is a new entire game. I mean, it is, but there are elements in there that, hey, this is connected to the Arkhamverse. And I know the theory that, like, oh my gosh, like, it's not the real Justice League, it's just a couple of fake clones. Look, if that's the case, I hope it's a good, uh, I hope we get a truly good send-off for the Justice League anyways. Whether that be the fact that it comes in, like, a future DLC or something. As far as post-launch stuff goes, I will say I haven't played the game like as of recent because I find this game to be best when you're playing with friends. Whether it be playing the story together or just going off and doing Elseworlds missions and end game stuff, which I haven't really tinkered with. But I think it's cool that you can create your own clan, that you can that there's that competitive cooperation aspect to it, to where yeah, you are cooperating to take down the target, or targets, but you're also competing to be squad leader. I think that is a really cool concept and idea, because it does add for, like, variability in terms of, like, oh, I want to pick the next mission, or, I want to get more points than you, or whatever that competition aspect is, right? I think it's cool that they implemented that while also making it feel like a cooperation kind of game, which it is. Um, but yeah, I think the outfits, the traversal, uh, the little tinkers here and there, the weapon upgrades, I think are, pretty good. I mean, I usually don't know what I'm doing with those most of the time because there's so much to, like, look at when you're upgrading, certain weapons, and you gotta put certain perks on it. Um, but I think all that's pretty good, pretty fine and dandy. And yeah, I'm excited for the post-launch stuff. Like I said, I'm gonna wait for that. Go back on it. Or if my friends get online soon, I'm gonna go and play that with them. I think overall it's a fun game. It's a fun game that you can play with your friends or alone, and you could still have like a pretty enjoyable time. I think, even if you're not that crazy about the story, I think the gameplay always keeps you on your toes. It's very different from anything I've ever played, so maybe that's why I'm being more nicer to it than most people. Because I'm not the biggest looter shooter guy, or live service guy, so this was kind of an all new experience to me. But it was a good one. It was a pretty good one. So for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I'm going to give it probably a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10. That could definitely go up as the more content we get goes on later down the year, which I really hope this game doesn't, like, die or get killed off because of the toxic people on Twitter and whatnot. I really think it is demotivating for the developers that put their time and heart and soul and blood, sweat, and tears into this game. Because it does have potential, but if you don't give it that potential, um, you're really doing a disservice to letting it get to its full potential, and that's just kind of effed up in my opinion. But yeah, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, 7.5, 8 out of 10. I'd say probably get it when it's on like a deal, maybe for $40. If you're truly interested in it, don't let anybody tell you that, oh, it's not good. Just look at what everybody's saying about it on Twitter and stuff like that. Like, if you're genuinely interested in this game, go get it. All right, go get it. Right? I didn't let uh the leaks or the negative stuff get to me, because I was always interested in this game from the get-go, from 2020. Uh yeah, and I'm excited to see the future of this game, if it has a future, if people will not be so damn harsh on the game for once. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. Subscribe to all of that. It would really help me out a ton. I'm glad I could be more composed in terms of like talking about stuff because usually I'm not very good at that. But yeah, B plus on a letter rating, 7.58 out of 10. Pretty good game, man. I'm excited to see where the future goes. And yeah, I'm gonna stop resetting myself all the time. But yeah, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Pretty good game. Love it. And yeah, I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.